Thundercat, because he's awesome. Okay. Props to you for being really cool, bud. Welcome. Okay, I don't know what that was. Unit 2, muscular system, lower limb muscles, bone types, and tissues. There's so much more to cover. Now, we're looking at a microscopic view of cardiac muscle. Why? Because it's cool, man. We got Z discs. Very dope. Cardiac muscle is freaking amazing, by the way. Did you know that cardiac muscle, it pulses across the entire muscle whenever your heart beats 1 billion times a day? I don't know. Can I Google that? How many times? Sorry, not sorry. How many times? How many times? I'm doing it in all caps. Does the heart beat per day? Look at me. 100,000 times per day. I was close. Yep. It's a dude you're dealing with. All right, so cardiac muscle cells, centrally located nucleus. Now, all this stuff is so that you can identify cardiac muscle on a slide. Okay, this is if you're on a test and you want to be able to identify cardiac muscle tissue or cardiac muscle cells on a slide, and they're going to test you. And this is what they look like, folks. The centrally located nucleus, that's just telling you to look for it in the middle. Now, I band, A band, and intercalated disc and endomysium. Okay, so this cardiac muscle cell, endomysium, okay, inside the muscle layer, I should say. I'm a little bit out of my element talking about cellular biology. I'm a gross anatomy guy, but I'll leave you some time to take a look at this and the cellular biology of this. If it's going to be something that you might be tested on, just go for it, man. You can take a screenshot. I bands, A bands. Now, I bands and A bands are really going to come into play here pretty quick. This is thick and thin filaments, all right, of the muscle. Now, thick and thin filaments, the way that it works is they're like the thick filaments have like little fingers, like projections that will grab in the contraction and cause that muscle to shorten and lengthen as they are turned on and turned off. Okay, and they do that through neurotransmitters, I do believe. But this cellular biology stuff, like I say, not my thing. Now, this is what's also kind of interesting about these muscle fibers. Okay, if you want to look at a muscle getting bigger, you aren't going to grow muscle in any other place than right here, guys. Right in these little bitty cells. It adds cells to the fibers. Okay? You're gaining more and more cells by breaking them down and repairing, breaking them down and repairing through damage. There's that endomysium right there. Okay, this is skeletal muscle. This is the stuff that's on the rest of your body. It's totally different in shape and the way that it works than cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle pulses throughout the entire muscle. it's almost like a hybrid between nervous system tissue and muscular tissue. It's just like it will wave the contraction and the what I should say, the neurological stimulus is going to wave across, and they pulse in waves. Okay, they don't just contract the way that skeletal muscle tissue does with those I bands and A bands, but there you go. It's giving you an actual real life slide of what these guys kind of look like. But skeletal muscle is kind of more where I'm hanging out. These thick filaments and thin filaments, the actin and myosin. You know, we're in the cellular biology level. I'll let you take a look at that, and you can snap it there. Right, muscle fiber, endomysium, the myofibril. Okay, that's what these guys look like. That's the thick and thin filaments, the myofilaments, myofibrils. Okay, so muscle fiber, myofibril, myofilament. Okay, that's how it's broken down. And you can take a look. This is from that textbook that I've already referenced. The McKinley, I do believe it is. The McKinley, yes, one of my favorites. Relaxed muscle and contracted muscle. It's just giving you an idea of like the flexion. Okay, flexion happening at the biceps, not femoris, but biceps brachii. Okay, and this is also giving you kind of a origin insertion situation here. So it's telling you the origin is here. This is the immobile part. Here's the insertion. That's the mobile part. And when this contracts, it's going to move from origin, from insertion towards the origin. Okay. So when you think about contraction, contraction happens from the insertion to the origin. And if you think about Mortal Kombat and your Scorpion, or what is it, Scorpion? Holy crap. Yeah, get over here. Blah. You know, he puts that whatever thing out of his wrist. And in the movies, it was a weird creature, which really freaked me out when I was a kid. Yeah. And then the thing comes out of his hand, latches on, and then pulls it towards him, right? Pulls the guy towards him. That's what origin insertion does. So the insertion point is that grab and pull. And it'll pull back to the origin, which in this case is Scorpion. He's the origin. Hey. And then he pulls back towards himself. Okay, so towards the origin. If you just think about it like maybe like gravity or something's going to go back to the origin. But that's what happens with every single muscle. We're going to take another look at the actin and myosin, thick and thin filaments here. And the way that they work, they sort of rotate and they like corkscrew in towards each other with those actin and myosin. The M line is where they would potentially meet, okay, during full contraction. There you go. And a muscle is strongest. When is the muscle strongest? At full contraction, when this muscle is completely lengthened, or when it's completely contracted? No, it's halfway in between. Okay, 45% or 50% of contraction is where a muscle is usually strongest. Okay, we're taking some more slides and looking at there. Like I say, a little out of my element. This is not where I usually like to spend my time, but I'll let you take a look at these and take screenshots or whatever of these wonderful synapses. Okay, so this is like the neuromuscular junction. This is where the nerve. So this is also giving you innervation. Because a lot of anatomy courses want you to know the origin, they want you to know the insertion, they want you to know the innervation. Okay, what's the nerve that's going to come down and cause this muscle to contract from the spinal cord, from the brain, or whatever. I am going to consciously contract this muscle. Okay, what's the nerve that caused that? Okay, And this is giving you a step down microscopic view of the nerve entering the muscle, causing it to contract. There it is. It's actually kind of rad. um, and this is what it looks like through that nerve path, um, and the synaptic knob, which is going to give those neurotransmitters causing the contraction of the muscle. And there you go. And this is happening consciously when I do it with my bicep, but it could happen unconsciously inside of your gut and moving food through your stomach through peristalsis, which is a muscle contraction of the small intestine, which moves your food along, and also swallowing water or spit or food. That is peristalsis as well. It's a muscle contraction of smooth muscle, and this happens throughout your entire body all day, every day, without you even knowing it, through these muscle contractions. Okay, got another kind of table here, the different muscular fiber types. Okay, slow fibers, intermediate fibers, and fast fibers, which they have type 1 muscle, type 2 muscle. Okay, fast twitch, slow twitch, if you've heard this before, or white versus red. Okay, white muscle fibers, they are often the fast twitch muscle fibers, which is anaerobic in nature. Anaerobic meaning it doesn't need oxygen. Aerobic meaning that it uses oxygen. It's more endurance athletes have more slow twitch fibers, and fast twitch fibers are found in a lot more football players, guys who do sprints. And when you're sprinting, yes, you're breathing, but your muscles are not running on oxygen at all. Most of the time, they just go all out until they're done. And this is another microscopic view, okay, showing some of these different muscle fiber types. They're white whenever they're anaerobic, okay. And these are different shapes of muscles, I assume. Orbicularis oris. Now, oris is the mouth. Okay, orbicularis, so orbital or orbit is like a circular. So this is around the mouth, around the lips. Orbicularis, it's a round shape mouth muscle. Okay, rectus abdominis, the straight abdominal muscle. And it's just giving you a different look at these different muscle fibers. Okay, now we're getting into some bone anatomy here, which is really rad. Love bones, and these are our anatomical landmarks, and giving you a look at what trochanters, tuberosities, all those fun things actually are. A head, okay, the head of the femur, the neck, so head, neck, and the greater trochanter. Now, don't panic. Greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, greater, lesser, bigger, smaller. In the muscle world, we use major and minor. In the bone world, we use greater and lesser. Okay? Absorb this information. Now, trochanter just means a large protrusion or knob. Okay, so it's a large protrusion. Now, the head of any bone is usually one that would go into insert into, say, if it has a head and neck, the femur and the humerus, they use it for the ball and socket joints, but the head is the ball that goes into the socket. Okay, the neck is here. How many femur neck fractures have I seen? That's a good question. A bunch. A lot. And then you end up with a hip replacement quite a bit. The shaft, and like a shaft of an arrow. Okay. Now, epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, lateral to the side. Okay, so we're looking, if you can tell here, we're looking at a right femur. Yes, that's a right femur. And why would it be the right femur? Because the lateral epicondyle is on the left side, and I could tell if it was on the left side, this person would be laying down, and this would be their right leg. This would be their left leg. Okay, epicondyle, above condyle. It's a protrusion above the condyle. Where's the condyle? I'm glad you asked. There's the lateral condyle right there. Okay, condyle is really, I like to think of them when I take my index finger and my middle finger and go like that. Condyles are like this, okay? And you have the occipital condyles and you have femoral condyles. And the condyles cause it to rock back and forth on these condyles. I kind of think of them like a rocking chair of the knee, okay? Patellar surface, patella is the kneecap. This is where the kneecap would go, medial condyle. And there you go, medial epicondyle. And the adductor tubercle, that is a spot where the adductors will attach. And tubercle is it's a smaller version of the trochanter. Okay, trochanter is a large protrusion. Then you have tubercle, slightly smaller, and then we'll look at what the smaller ones are. There's a nice look at the kneecap, front and back, apex, the point, okay, and the base. And if you haven't guessed it, yes, this is kind of seems upside down. The base would be at the top, okay. Apex, the point is at the bottom. All right, the articular surfaces. And if you haven't noticed yet, medial surface is going to be slightly larger, I do believe. I'm gonna have to go over this. So we got tibia and fibula. Okay, fibula is a smaller one. I think I read something where it's like 20 or 30% of weight bearing happens through the fibula. Okay, gets fractured a lot, and it's on the lateral side. So if this is a lateral side, guys, we're still looking at a right leg, and there it is, right leg. You can see it's on the lateral side, towards the outside, and it gets fractured on football players a lot because they take hits from the lateral side, and this will break. And the head is at the top, okay, neck right there. The head is that kind of roundish shaped deal guy. And then look, lateral condyle, medial condyle, and the intercondylar eminence. Your eminence. It's the eminence is at the top, okay? Your eminence. It's at the very top. Intercondylar eminence. It's this point in between the condyles, okay? And it has condyles, and there's like the top of the tibia. Really, the knee joint is between tibia and femur. There really isn't a lot going on here with the fibula. It sort of attaches to the tibia and helps support. I'm just here for moral support. It's really not doing a whole lot. The tibial tuberosity is this protrusion where the patellar tendon is going to attach and your quadricep is going to attach there. And if you haven't noticed yet, tuberosities, trochanters, tubercles, tendons attach into those places a lot. And it's where the muscle gets beefed up. The muscle, the bone gets beefed up through constant muscle contraction. Damage over time is going to cause this bone to form more bone around that area to help stabilize the muscle, right? And with lifters and these guys that are pushing lots of weight, you're going to cause your bones to grow through damage. Okay. The tibia is pretty cool looking. It's sort of a T shape. Anterior barrier. Now there is an interosseous membrane between these guys. It's immobile, and this is the equivalent of your radius and ulna, but it does not really twist. They don't fold over one another. Inferior articular surface. So the bottom surface where it meets another bone. Articular surface, that's all that means, okay? Now, medial and lateral malleolus, okay? Malleolus, like a mallet, like a hammer, like a hammerhead. Those are the ankle bones. When you want to point at your ankle, you're pointing at your lateral malleolus. You don't want to see my scary legs, but yeah, you know what I mean. So your ankle is here. You're pointing at this is my ankle. All right, that's a medial malleolus and lateral malleolus. One's on the medial side, one's on the lateral side. Bones of the foot. Now tarsal bones. I'm moving kind of quick here, guys, but just out of necessity. Tarsals are actual ankle and foot bones. Okay, this is what actually makes up your ankle, are the tarsals. Okay, that's the bones of the joint. The navicular means tiny boat. Okay, the tiny boat. The cuboid, square shaped muscle. And the bone, cuboid. It's square shaped bone. In the muscle world we use quadratus, in the bone world we use cuboid. Okay. Cuneiform, medial cuneiform, intermediate cuneiform, and then guess what? Lateral cuneiform. One's in the middle. We're looking at a right foot here. Okay. We're looking at it from the top down view. Alright. Talus. This is where the bottom here, interarticular surface, the talus is going to sit right in there, and this is where you're actually going to pivot that ankle up and down over the surface of the talus. It's going to move like this. Okay, when you move that foot, if my elbow is my foot, it's going to go down and go up along the talus. Okay, that roll and glide will happen along the talus. Okay, and the talus is, thank goodness for your talus, man. That is where all your body weight, a lot of your body weight is going to sit on the talus. And the calcaneus is your heel. It's the bone of the heel. Alma, check your battery. All right, so if you know that reference, good for you. Phalanges is fingers or toes. It's interchangeable. Hallux, I covered this in an earlier video, but the great toe is the hallux. Now, with these phalangeal bones, you'll be looking at proximal, middle, and distal. Proximal, closest to the body. Middle, in the middle. And distal, furthest away. So, phalanges is a plural term. Phalanx is the individual term. And they're numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? These are the metatarsals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? These are the tarsals that I already described. Now, metatarsals would be the ones running across the top of your foot, and phalangeal, okay, those are the ones that are specific to your toes. Alright, notice something. Anybody notice anything different about the hallux? Okay, your great toe has a proximal and distal, it does not appear to have a middle phalanx. Okay, there's no middle phalanx for the hallux. Okay, this is actually kind of a cool little tidbit, but these sesamoid bones for the great toe, sesamoid are seed-like bones. They form inside of a tendon, usually because of damage. That tendon will slowly turn to bone. Happens a lot at the base of the great toe or the hallux. Sesamoid bones. There they are. Okay, still looking at the right foot, and it's going over metatarsal and then phalangeals. Okay, now we're looking at a side view of a right foot, still a right foot, and talking about the arch. Okay, there's those sesamoid bones that I talked about. Okay, yeah, very cool. Medial longitudinal arch. Okay, medial along the middle, longitudinal long arch of the foot. Now there's a lateral arch, lateral longitudinal arch. Say that 15 times fast. Ready, go. And then there is the transverse arch. Transverse, running from left to right, across, transverse, cross-continental. All right, from one end of the foot to the other, you have 3 arches in your foot. Absorb this information. Medial longitudinal arch, lateral longitudinal arch, and transverse arch. You have 3 arches. That could be a question on a test somewhere. Somebody's asked it. And now we're looking at a coronal plane, not coronal, transverse cut of this femur, and looking at muscles in compartments. And so it's showing you that there's these 3 compartments in which the muscles reside. Why is this important? It's because your muscles reside in these tendinous sheaths, okay? And I don't know if you've ever heard of compartment syndrome, okay? Compartment syndrome is when there's so much swelling inside the sheath, the sock, that these guys all reside in. Okay, this posterior compartment of the thigh where your biceps femoris, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, they're all inside the same sheath. They're all inside the same sock. Now, if I had compartment syndrome, this compartment would start to swell. And it would swell out of control. And if they're all stuck inside the same sock and they swell and swell and swell, they start to crush each other. And in that crushing process, they can start to cause injury. Oh, Mom. Okay, I'll call you back. Love you. Alright, cool. Compartment syndrome is nasty business, guys. They have to cut the compartment sheath to relieve the pressure before you damage, you cause irreparable and unrepairable damage to these muscles. Compartment syndrome was bad, okay? Now there's a medial compartment, and guess where it is? It's in the middle, where all the adductors are there, and then the quadriceps, mainly the quadriceps, are in this anterior compartment. And the femur is just hanging out there like the chocolate center. Okay, cool. Really cool stuff on the foot. I'll let you take a look at that. Super awesome Grey's Anatomy picture right there, which I also have. Grey's Anatomy. Great book. We're looking at the thigh. So iliacus and psoas major will often just be called iliopsoas. They work together, and you can maybe guess what they do, but they flex the hip. Okay, in the sitting position, you have a flexed hip. Okay. And tensor fasciolate. I was wondering when we were going to get to this guy. This is a source of a lot of pain, folks, the tensor fasciolate. This is a small muscle on the, what? Medial or lateral? I feel like Blue's Clues right now. Which side is it? It's on the lateral side. So the lateral hip, you get a lot of tension in the tensor fasciolate, and so tensor causing tension is its game, and it's part of its name. Fascia, you guessed it, fascia. Latte, I don't really know why it's called, what that part is, what the meaning of that is, but the IT band runs along the lateral side of the thigh, an IT band, iliotibial band, okay, iliotibial tract, okay, ilio, hip, tibial, tibia, band. From hip to tibia, band. That's what its name means, and the tensor fasciolate will cause a lot of tension along the IT band, and people come to me as a physical therapist with IT band pain, and they're like, why are you rubbing my hip? That's why, right there, we're going to get this muscle to relax, and we're going to relieve tension. It's the fastest way to relieve some tension on that IT band. There you go. Vastus lateralis, it's a quadricep muscle. Vastus lateralis, okay, muscle on the lateral side of the thigh. Look, vastus medialis, there it is. Rectus femoris, rectus, the straight femur muscle. Rectus femoris, the straight femur muscle. That's exactly what it means. All right, so sartorius is the seat belt that runs across. Instead of shoulder to hip, it's hip to tibia. Straight across there, sartorius. Gracilis is most medial. And then we're getting to take a little look at the adductor longus, taking a peek out right here. And the pectineus, okay? Missed this on a test question. Where's the pectineus? The pectineus is right there, guys. Not in the pectoral region. It's in the thigh. Now we're going to take all that off. Take it off. Break it off, baby, for me. The Donnas. Let's check that out. Go on and take it off. Adductor brevis, adductor longus. Brevis and longus. Longus is the longer one. Brevis is the shorter one. I'll have a breve latte. And it's, brevis is the short, and longus is the long one. Another shout out to iliopsoas and pectineus. There they are. And there it is, guys. We made it. Adductor magnus. It's the biggest one. Magnus. I don't know if any other muscle in the human body has been granted the title Magnus except for adductor magnus, and it's really cool. Adductor magnus is this, it's the meat in the sandwich between hamstring and quadricep. So quadriceps are on the front part of the leg and the hamstrings are on the back, and adductor magnus is the jelly in the center, baby. It is right in the middle. And it's really cool because adductor magnus does two different things. It actually assists the hamstrings with flexion while also being a great adductor muscle. And it's magnificently huge. It's really cool. So, just so you know, there's the IT band told you about earlier, and tensor fasciolate. Okay, there's sartorius. There's rectus femoris coming up, and this guy would just so happen to be the best song in the world. No, it's vastus lateralis on the side, and there's biceps femoris long head. Now this is pretty cool because it's giving us a really nice view of our lateral thigh, the gluteus maximus looking fabulous, and then gluteus medius, it goes underneath deep to gluteus max, but it does make an appearance superior to it right there. Okay. The iliac crest is just like the crest of the hip there. Really cool, guys. Oh yeah, back view. Gluteus max, and then we're getting a hamstring view here. Really nice. Biceps femoris. Now, which side would that reside on, guys? Biceps femoris. Always on the lateral side of the hamstrings. Semitendinosus and semimembranosus are going to be on the medial side, and semimembranosus just hangs out right next to gracilis. They're best buddies, alright? And adductor magnus, I told you it was going to assist with hamstring motion, and there it is. It takes a peek out of the back of the leg, but I promise it's right in the middle between hamstring and quadricep, and really awesome muscle. I think it's the unsung hero of the thigh. We're going to look at these tiny muscles. Tiny muscles in the wine. That would be terrible. Tiny bubbles. Alright, whatever. Tibialis anterior. It's simpler to look at these cutaway views, okay? Tibialis anterior is on the very front and lateral side of the shin, okay? There's your lateral malleolus. You go up. If you are picking your toes up, you are going to see a muscle, hopefully, just on the lateral side, and it will contract. That's tibialis anterior. Extensor digitorum longus. Don't freak out. Digits are the toes. Extensor, meaning to extend or lift the toes. Longus, long muscle. So if you pick your toes up, just your toes, and pick those guys up, that's what this muscle does. Extensor hallucis longus. What does it do? It's going to pick up the big toe, baby. Pick it on up. Extend the big toe muscle. That's long. That's exactly what that means. I'm going to pick up the big toe muscle. Oh no. Did I get a call? Do I need to run? I might have. Okay. Well, I might need to run. Alright, guys. Let's cut it there. Cut it, and then I'll get back to you. Okay? Hey, it's been fun. This is Mickey, and I hope you enjoyed it.